Hello, hi, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry. Am I audible? Can anybody just message and let me know if I'm audible? Hi, Priyanka. Can you just message me and let me know if I'm audible? Okay, so we will be starting the session in a while. We're just waiting for our guest to join. And I am Deepthi again from Swarasya, again with a very deeply knowledgeable session with Jain, who is the founder of Arhanta Yoga Ashrams, which are spread out in India and Netherlands. I just came to know of Ram through one of my Google searches where I was just trying to figure out a good, course on a specific modality in yoga, and that's how I just founded Ram. And I had this strong, gut feeling or intuition to just go ahead with, because I was looking out for various programs, but somehow the way Ram presented himself and the kind of knowledge he had, I just went ahead with one of his programs, and it's been phenomenal learning from him. It's like, very deep rooted concepts that Ram talks about, which is about, yoga joined with the Vedic way of looking at how do you practice yoga, and in your lifestyle, not just about practicing yoga from the asana perspective, but more being living this lifestyle. So this is what. Hi Ram, good morning
Hello.
to you there.
Hello, Deepthi. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
I hope your Instagram live joining journey was all okay.
Yes, a little bit trouble. First time for me, and I'm not very
No,
good with social media.
no,
So
no. Everybody has a first time. Even I had the first time, so that's perfectly okay. And thank you
hear me
so
well?
much.
You
Yes,
can
yes,
hear.
yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
good.
You're quite audible. Well, yeah. So, firstly, thank you so much for joining us. I was just talking to our audience and trying to tell them, how did I come to know about you? I know you, but I know you don't know me. So I'll just create a base around, how I did came to know about you. So I am into yoga for last 6 years almost, and I had been looking for a really, deep-rooted traditional kind of yoga knowledge in specific modality into yoga, which was about, Yin Yoga. I was wanting to learn, and so I was looking for various online courses during pandemic times, and I just chanced upon your website, and it just clicked me because the kind of the way you expressed yourself from the Vedic perspective, and the entire curriculum, what it talked about was not just at the superficial level. It was not just only talking of those asanas and the benefits, which of course everywhere we see around, but it was much more deep rooted aspects that I could see were mentioned that you were covering. So this is where I went ahead and enrolled for this program, and it was not just Yin Yoga that I learned, but along with it, some of the concepts which were not clear to me from the Vedic perspective, like the concepts of five elements, concepts of prana, is something that I got a little deeper into it, which is really helping me out in what I'm trying to set up. So, just to give you the context, I'm the founder of Swarasya. We are India's first skincare and self-care brand. We are where we are trying to create awareness that beauty is inside out. It's not an outside job or a one product miracle. And as an extension of Swarasya, we've recently launched a platform called Yogana, which is about bringing on board experts like you only with deep ancient knowledge. So this platform is just about reviving the ancient knowledge, global ancient knowledge. So it's not just about Ayurveda or yoga, but even about traditional Chinese medicine or macrobiotics or Qigong. So, these ancient modalities. So we are actually working towards creating a base where we can actually bring about experts like you and talk deeper about these modalities and how the science of life or living is very deeply rooted to the principles that these ancient sciences have always talked about, rather than looking at them from a very superficial perspective, which is what we are doing right now. And one of the reasons why we are suffering a lot from the health perspective, it's just one directional thing that we are doing right now.
Right.
Yeah. So, Ram, I had thought I will introduce you, but since you're there, I think you're the best person to introduce yourself. So, over to you. Just help us understand who you are. What do you do? About your ashrams. When did you start? And your the Vedic roots. I think this is one thing that our audience is really interested to know about, because not many people are into yoga and Veda together.
Okay.
So, over to you.
So basically, my name is Ram. I'm from a Jain family from India. So the family is very spiritual and very strict in following the principles. I studied in Vedic school in childhood instead of a regular Western public school. So I got my information and knowledge from there, and everything was taught in a Gurukul system.
Hmm.
So it was very beneficial. Now
Hmm.
I see that that
Yes,
time I did not like it
that's where
very
the
much.
world is moving, I guess.
Yes. And I came to Holland in 2007, and then I started my yoga school here. And from yoga studio, then I started in yoga ashram because I always wanted to have a yoga ashram. I spent a lot of time in ashrams as a child, so I always wanted to have
So
my
what is the
own.
difference if you just help us understand, like when we say ashram or when we say yoga school, how do
Okay.
you differentiate?
So a yoga ashram is basically a residential yoga school. So you go
Okay.
there, you live there. It's like a monastery in the modern terms, you can say. Like modern
Okay.
people say monastery. So you go
Okay.
there, you live there. It's minimal, and everything you learn is intensive. You are taking an immersion. You are not doing
Yeah.
anything else. You're just learning all the time.
I could get that sense when I was doing your program also. So thank you for clarifying that. I guess that really helps. So okay, so how did you finally got into yoga? Was it because you had those Vedic roots and you finally had decided that you'll be into
In
this?
school,
Okay.
so in school, I was learning all the Vedic information, all the scriptures, yoga.
Mm-hmm.
When I grew up, actually, I did not start to teach yoga immediately. I went
Mm-hmm.
into other fields like dance and music and all.
Mm-hmm.
And but then later on, I came back to yoga to
Okay.
teach, and it went well.
Mm-hmm.
So I continued teaching it.
And how did Holland happen from India? Like since you were
I
from
came
very
to Holland actually for dance exchange for a dance program.
okay. Oh.
And then when I came here, I liked it very much.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back, and I did not find a job
Mm-hmm.
to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started my own yoga classes,
Mm-hmm.
and then slowly it grew from there. And now we have two ashrams.
Great. So, Ram, I think a few things that I would really want our audience to know about you before I get into the core of the session. So, Ramjan is the founder and director of Arhanta Yoga Ashrams, which are the ashrams are in India and Netherlands. In India, where are you? Where are your ashrams? Ram?
Khajuraho,
Khajuraho. Okay, nice. So
Central India.
you are okay. So these ashrams are there since 2009, and from your ashrams, about 6,000 plus yoga teachers have graduated till date. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, and Ram is amongst selected few yoga teachers with Vedic background, and his style of yoga is deeply inspired by Vedic philosophy. Ram has 21 years of experience, yoga experience, and his teaching approach is a blend of classical Hatha Yoga merged with ancient Indian scriptures, along with modern anatomy and physiology. So there can be nothing more complete than this, Ram. I'm sure, like everything coming in together. So I think I'll start my first question from that point only, like. In modern times, the way we look at the health conditions which are happening, like if, let it whether it be pandemic or any health conditions that people have, we try to relate it more to the physicality of ourselves, right? But a lot is to do with how the kind of stress and the lack of movement. And when I say lack of movement, doesn't mean that we are not walking or moving, but it's more about that strategic movement that has to be there in the body to be able to stimulate those organ systems inside, which can keep working, right? Yeah. So just help us understand in these 21 years of your experience that you had, how do you think, and plus, you come from the time when yoga was not known much. So start from that point on till today in 21 years, how do you think that yoga has really helped people to take back control of their health from the preventive perspective?
Yes. The biggest change I see that people have started to move as holistic. Earlier, if you see, people will do exercise, but they were doing mostly for the muscles or for the joints.
Right.
But yoga asanas actually help the internal organs.
Mm-hmm.
So your digestion works better, your breathing works better, your other body systems start to function better, and which improves the overall health.
Right.
It brings the stress down because we start to focus inwards and in
Mm-hmm.
now rather than focusing looking in the mirror or looking at other people. We start to focus inwards,
Mm-hmm.
and that brings the change. And in that also you start to focus on breath, so your nervous system starts to also support your exercises.
Mm-hmm. Right. And when it's about asana, pranayama, and meditation, I think these three are like sisters with each other.
Yes.
None of them is complete without the other one, right?
Asana is done for purification of physical body.
Right.
Okay, so you want to remove the toxins from the body, you want to have the digestion system and other systems working
So this
properly.
is one important point that I think I would just help the audience also to get deeper into it, because in my practice also and with my peers also, the way yoga is happening these days, it's I mean, I would not be ashamed to say that it's more of a circus going on at a lot of places. It's like, just those movements going on, but there is no sense to those movements actually happening. And so I don't think we are actually able to grasp the 100% benefits of what that time and that yoga practice can give us unless until we align it best with our breath and with that state of consciousness. Is that right?
Correct.
So yeah. So when you have been teaching for last 21 years, what has been your experience into this? Like, of course, you being a teacher, I think you can guide people how to go about it. And this is where the teaching style actually matters. But people who have learned from you and who've imbibed this and who are spreading the word forward, how do you think from the knowledge perspective, from the practical perspective, the same value is going out? Like, it's not just like, people not seeing yoga as merely a physical part of it, but combining your breath and consciousness together to see how beautifully things just happen from the inside.
I cannot say how much is going forward because every teacher includes their own personality and their own ideas and understanding into it. But what we try to really teach here is to make understand that asana is not just a pose. People say yoga pose. So asana is not a pose. You cannot just
Right.
pose something and say this is asana. And that's what is happening actually these days.
Right.
Asana, by definition, is Sthir Sukham Asanam, steady, comfortable state of body and mind is asana. So the
So I
steady
think,
state.
yes, so I think I would also want to just focus on one important point here. Again, coming from my own experience also, that we try to achieve these highest states of postures, like, the toughest ones or the difficult ones. So how do you think, even if we are doing the simplest of the posture,
Yes.
what makes it really powerful, even if it is the most easiest one that anybody can do? Maybe something like just, sitting with a straight spine and just focusing on your breath. Even that is an asana, right? But
That's what I'm explaining.
yeah.
So what I tell to my students that we did a 2-hour class, but
Hmm.
maybe in 2-hour class, you were doing 2 minutes of asana.
Hmm.
Rest of the time you were trying to get into asana because your body was not steady and your
Hmm.
mind was not steady. You were thinking something else. You were focusing on other people. You were trying to get into asana. You were not in state where your body and mind was steady. So actually the shape of the body does not matter. What matters is what is your state of the body and mind. If your body is imbalanced and struggling, or if your body is calm, doesn't matter what is the pose.
Hmm.
And your mind, is it focused and calm, or are you thinking, oh, this person is doing like this, she's wearing this pant, very nice. I also want to buy one. When will I eat? When the class will finish? Am I looking better than others? So no, the state of mind. Now the shape doesn't matter. You are doing a headstand or you are just sitting in cross leg or sukhasana. That is still an asana if you have that state of mind and body. So it's better to start with simple poses, get that state, and then slowly progress with the difficulty of the poses.
That makes sense. Yes. So again, coming back to your experience, how many people do you think are able to go by this approach where they're able to reach a state where they actually are into that definition of yoga,
In
Sthiram
my
Sukham
experience,
Asanam?
very, very few because it's very catchy. It's very easy to get distracted by the shapes. So
Hmm.
people want to do more and more difficult poses where they look more fancy. So they can also take
Hmm.
some nice pictures and share and
Hmm.
all, rather than going internal. And that defies the purpose of asana because asana is internal and shapes are external.
True. Okay. So, okay, coming back to my question, like, again, coming back to these pandemic times and the way yoga can actually help us. So, one point of view that a lot of people actually directly relate to is that yoga helps our physical body, and that's why a lot of people want to get into yoga. But how would you define how people can start understanding that when the physicality of your body starts to change, there are a lot of chemical changes happening in the body, a lot of physiological changes happening, a lot of psychological changes happening, which means it's not just about practicing. You are actually making a connect with your body and mind together. So, how would you help people understand this idea?
So understand like this. When we do poses, when we do asana, I will say I use word poses, but I don't want to say poses. But
Hmm.
it's just habit to keep saying yoga poses now to asana
Hmm.
because it's common. So when we do asana, we start to come inwards and we start to come in balance and we move with this balance. And that's why you have to have this breath and this focus and the movement together. So you're moving holistically. Now, this kind of movement is very, very beneficial, and that has been proved now. So you can compare it to also water. When the water is steady, it's not moving, it starts to stink. There's no movement. Yes, all kind of toxins start to develop in it, all kind of bacteria, this and that. But when the water is moving in a good natural flow, it is fresh, it is giving energy. Yeah, it is healthy. Same way, when the body is moving in this sense with proper focus, with proper breath, the energy flows in throughout the body. So body reacts to it, like you said, the chemical reactions, and that's why the people feel more energy, positivity. All these things happen, and your mind is functioning better. The fatigue is gone. Yeah, body pain is gone. So that's what it does. It brings this movement, natural movement in the body.
So which means we are gradually moving on to the actual topic that I wanted to discuss, which is about the science of prana associated with yoga. But I'll come to that question later. There's another question before that. So, now if we look at the way the modern world is going in terms of understanding exercise from both the perspectives, whether it be yoga and gymming, and if we look at specific health goals that people have, whether it be strength or muscle building or weight training, whatever. So I guess there is some level of misconception there that if it is about strength training or muscle building or weight training, gymming is the way to go. And for flexibility, yoga is the way to go. So what do you think, how true or untrue this is?
I think this is not correct. You can also build a lot of muscle by yoga, and you can also build a lot of flexibility in gym, depending on what you do and how you do. So if I remember when I was going as an assistant in a class, the teacher would always say to students, don't go gym, don't go gym. He would always tell the boys. And I always thought, why not? What is wrong with gym? Because I used to also go gym. It just depends on how you do it. If you are doing it consciously, without looking at the shape, but also feeling what is happening, looking with the proper goal and stretching all properly before and after proper warm-up, then it's great. Exercise, if done properly, is always beneficial. And that's what Swami Shivananda used to say, proper exercise, not just exercise, proper exercise.
That's right. Right. So do you think there is any difference between, say, 2 hours of yoga done in a specific manner where you start with the warm up and then you, move on to little stretching and then you get into the deeper postures? And similarly, same tenure of gymming exercise, maybe starting with the same pattern and doing those strenuous exercises and then getting into relaxation. So where is actually the difference there?
The difference is that mostly the gym exercises are dynamic exercises. So you are moving there. You're not being just in one form. And in yoga asanas, we are more steady. So we become more aware because we are not concentrated on movement. You can either focus on one thing or the other.
Right.
And that's why the gym will not give you same internal focus, even though it will give you focus. You can be really focused and do the exercises. But asana is more inner focus. Of course, gym also gives you focus. So that's why I recommend to do both. If someone wants to do for muscles, they should, can do gym, because yoga will focus more on internal organs, nervous system. Gymming will also give you that, but not so directly. It will focus more on the muscles and the joints.
Okay. So specifically from the yoga perspective, if we say that, the strength training part of it or the weight training or muscle building can happen with yoga also, what would be those specific postures or sequence or, asanas which can help people attain this? Because I guess this is one area because of which people don't actually actively get into yoga. It's majorly, their major focus is muscle, weight, and strength, which is a misconception that only, you can go to a gym and then attain it.
I want to say one more thing. Of course, if you want this big bicep, this big bicep instead of this big bicep, yoga will not give you that, because yoga works in a balanced way because you are using body weight. So you're not going to get huge muscles. But if you want that, of course, you have to go gym to lift extra heavy weight. If you do yoga, you can get good tone and in natural way. So there is a difference. You will not get same in the yoga. If your goal is to become a big, huge muscle man, then you have to go gym. Then
Yoga is more of a toned way of body, which you will have muscles, but the structure and that flexibility and that flow will reflect when
In
you
the ratio of the natural ratio of the
rest of
body,
the body.
and a lot of balancing exercises,
Hmm.
a lot of arm balances, for
Hmm.
example. So there are a lot of exercises which help you. Plus, there's one more thing which is I see in my personal experience. When you go to gym, you are working on big muscles.
Right.
In yoga asanas, we work in all the small muscles.
Very,
Like,
very valid point.
yes, so all the small muscles, and for example, the foot muscles, all the
Hmm.
arch muscles, all
Hmm.
these muscles are getting worked when you're balancing. Whereas normally in gym, you are working on bigger muscles.
Right. And that's the reason somewhere it is a little imbalanced as compared to yoga, which is more balanced
Correct.
because, the whole body is getting involved there. Great, that's nice. So I think Ram, from the physical perspective, that's all I had for you. But I think I would want to get deeper onto the pranic side of understanding things. So my next question would be that the educational approach that I have been, have experienced with you is more coming from the traditional side of understanding things and going to the roots of understanding not just your body and mind, going beyond that and trying to understand these universal energies, right? Like the five elements concept or the five pranas concept. So, and this is a concept that not a lot of people relate to. Only a handful of them who've actually had this deep rooted in internal knowledge understand this, and the ones who know this do not actually know how does it relate to our body from the practical perspective, from day-to-day perspective. So just help us bridge the gap between understanding where it all starts from, which is the five elements, and from the body perspective, uh, the physicality of it is okay. Like we're having good foods, we are moving, and everything is okay. But ultimately, that food is also becoming prana inside. Ultimately, that movement is also about regulating that prana. The kind of the breath that is going in is also, we know it as oxygen, but internally it is the movement of prana. So everything boils down to prana inside the body. How can a common person relate to this concept?
Okay. So, first thing, the body is made up of five elements, according to Ayurveda, and we call it the foundational theory of Ayurveda. So, if this theory is wrong, that the body is made up of five elements, which are earth, water, fire, air, and space. So if this theory is wrong, the whole Ayurveda is wrong, basically. So
Exactly.
that's why we really, really believe in this theory, that
Mm-hmm.
it has to be correct.
But practically, if you start looking deeper, I think it makes a lot of sense also once you actually know the entire cycle, how it works.
So now to live, we have to maintain these five elements, and that's why we eat food, drink water, breathe air. Yes, because we need to renew these elements. So we eat fresh food when we get rid of the old food we have eaten. We take fresh breath and we remove the old breath. We drink fresh water, we remove the old water. Similarly, the space and the air. So that's the system of five elements in our body. So we are doing this all the time. We know about it or we don't know about it.
Hmm.
Now, how better you maintain your five elements, how better you renew your five elements, the health of the body will be maintained. So that's the concept of five elements.
Okay.
Now there's a concept also of five pranas.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, people generally say word energy. In my classes, people often keep talking. Whenever I say, okay, what is this? They say energy. Now,
Hmm.
energy is a very, very vague and a broad word. Generally, I say if you don't understand something, you can just call it energy.
Mm-hmm.
But not all energy is same. For
Mm-hmm.
example, the energy in the pencil cell, in the battery, and energy in the Red Bull, and energy in food is different. Yes. So you cannot just eat pencil cell and say, okay, I got my energy.
Mm-hmm.
There are different energies. So we have five kind of basic prana. Now, prana basically you can understand is life force, and life force means the force we need to be alive. So there are living activities. For example, I am talking. So for
Mm-hmm.
that, I need force. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just oxygen, it's energy, it's force
Right.
I'm using. So this is like one example. For breathing, I need force. For thinking, I need force. Sometimes when you are tired, this force is finished, then you have no energy to think. And then what you do, we go outside, get some sun or eat some food, and then we have again this energy. We refresh this energy. So we have 5 pranas and they come through different sources. I don't know how deep we want to go into it. Normally I talk 1 hour about it, just pranas.
Mhm.
So I will just say
So
briefly.
for 10 minutes, I think whatever you can speak, you please go ahead
Yeah,
and feel free to speak
I'll,
about it.
I will say briefly. So
Sure.
5 pranas we have, each we get from different sources. For
Mhm.
example, we get the upper level prana, which is above the heart for all the activities, and moving, eye moving, brain working, breath, talking, that we get from the sun. And
Which means sun is important, very important.
sun is very important. If there's no sun,
That's
there's no
another misconception that a lot of people really need to go
okay.
beyond because,
Sun is really important because
yeah.
that is giving the whole, the higher prana. We call it udan. Then there
Mhm.
is pran, which is coming through breath. That's why
Mhm.
we need to breathe. Breath stops, the flow of prana stops, and then we
Mhm.
die. Because prana functioning is heart beating. This prana beats heart. Then we have another one, then we have for digestion. All the digestion, we need force. That's why some people have fast digestion, fast metabolism, and some people have slow because they have less or more of that prana.
Mhm.
That comes from food and from physical activity.
Only
Then,
one will not serve the purpose, right? So
not only
there's a lot of 100% focus, like, a lot of modalities coming in saying increase your hydrochloric level acid or increase your digestive enzymes, or but without any movement. So there's co-joining is not happening. Nobody's talking of that importance of co-joining, right?
both happen. Ayurveda says physical activity and food.
Will go hand
So,
in hand.
hand to hand. Then we have Vayan, which is basically for the circulation of all the liquid juices in the body,
Mhm.
all the nutrition movement, and that is coming from water. And that's why we need to drink water and renew our water because old water will not do the same circulation.
Right.
And then we have a force of excretion, which is apan. So all the excretion, yawning, sweating, vomiting, pooing, peeing, that is coming from apan.
Mhm.
And that also we get from earthy food, very earthy food,
Right.
like potatoes, carrots, the heavy food. So these we need to have.
Mhm.
If we don't have these, then we don't have enough energy for these activities. That's the
Ram,
concept.
before we move forward, I think I have a question for you here, and I guess this is a very important question for all the listeners also. A lot of people suffer from constipation, and in my practice, being a nutritionist, constipation is something that I really have to deal with as a very first primary concern, irrespective of whatever health conditions they have, right? So when it is about constipation, the generic mindset is either, of course, you improve upon your fiber intake and then you improve upon your water intake. And still, if the problem does not get resolved, then you go ahead with these, herb solutions or maybe isabgol or stuff like this, which can really create bulk in your system. And again, this is coming from a practical experience. Takes me loads of time and effort to actually explain my clients also that only foods you have the best foods, best fiber, good water intake, everything. Still, if you want that complete evacuation, sense of complete evacuation, where you just feel free within yourself, is absolutely not possible until unless your the lowest prana is in its activated force.
Yeah,
Yeah, how true is
correct.
that?
Completely correct. That's what I said. Some people don't have enough apan, so they're always constipated, which is
And
commonly in
why?
vata people. So you see vata people, the
Hmm.
air people.
Hmm.
So that's why because they have a lot of udan, so they speak very
Hmm.
fast, they move a lot, but their
Hmm.
digestion is always very sluggish because their apan is low. And
Okay.
no matter of food or water, you need that force. If you just don't have that force, it will take time for it to collect and give you that motion.
So what do you think from the practical doable perspective? What from maybe some tips from Ayurveda or some tips from yoga practices and of course food and everything. What do you think? What can be a good approach for somebody to improve upon their apana power so that things really move nicely within?
So, like I said, apan we get from heavy earthy food. So,
Hmm.
people with low apan, they need to include heavy earthy food. So, more of potato, for example,
Okay.
yeah? More of rice, more heavy food, grounded.
Okay. Okay.
So that brings apan with it. So when they have
Hmm.
to digest that, they will get more apan, and apan will give them a good motion.
Okay, so which means the theory of not having enough carbs and not having these foods, like even there have been theories about not having much of potatoes and all that stuff. This theory kind of gets defied with the concept that you're talking about, right?
Yes, yes. In Ayurveda, we consider potato very good.
Okay,
Of
with the
course,
peel or without the peel?
with peel, if it's biological, peel has a lot of nutrition. But again, even if you take without peel, you are taking the potato. And again, amount is always how food. No food is bad or good. It depends on how much you take, how you take, and when you take.
Right. And of course, what's going on within your body that has an
Yes.
equal role. Great pointers, Ram. I think that will really help the listeners because this is one point even I do understand, but it becomes really, challenging to actually talk of these concepts because not many people want to relate to this concept of moving away from their sedentary way of life and they want everything in the food as a solution to take control of their conditions, but it doesn't work like that actually. Yeah. Great. So from here, I'll go a little more deeper. I'll get into the Vedas now because I guess that's the core from where you come from. So help us understand what is a Vedic lifestyle. Some part of it, why I'm asking this is because this is something little I started studying about and reading about, and I don't know frankly much about it, but I can still figure out that there is a specific way of life that has been defined in Vedas, and we are completely living an opposite way of life. So when we say that our health conditions are happening because my food is not right, because my environment is not right, because I have a lot of stress, it has to do a lot to do with we are not in sync with the way the Vedic sciences have aligned us to the forces of nature, and because we are unaligned with those forces of nature, that becomes the beginning of conditions at the subtle level, which starts to manifest in the body in all these conditions that we start to see. So we are just able to see layer one, but there is much happening at layer two and layer three which is unseen, right?
Correct. Correct.
So what is this Vedic lifestyle, how a common man can understand this and start to really work on this aspect?
So, in simple way, if I have to say briefly, Vedic lifestyle is life of balance and in line with nature.
Mm.
So, in Vedic lifestyle, we are always thinking of balance. We are not thinking of excess. Generally, what I see these days, people want to have excess but not balance. So, they want to, let's say, have uh,
Exactly.
a, a lot of success in business or work, or a lot of success, or a lot of traveling, or a lot of just focus on diet, or a lot of
Mhm.
focus on relationship, but not really balance. And Vedic lifestyle is about balance. So you want to have balance in your health, in your career, in your leisure, in
Mhm.
your relationships, in your spirituality, and in your lifestyle.
Okay, which means the way of life, when we say it has to be balanced, that balance has to be everywhere. So when we talk of foods and when we think of fads like excess of protein or going away completely from carbs, or so that is from the food perspective is not the
Also
right
not.
balance of but first short term it might help you because you may have certain imbalances just to bring about
Yes.
that balance and
Yes.
then get back onto a balanced way of life. Similarly, from the lifestyle. I think one important thing that I would really want to talk of is when we are talking of Vedic lifestyle, how important is it to follow Dinacharya, Ayurveda Dinacharya?
Oh, it's very important. But then you have to
Yeah.
know your body type.
Mhm.
So, Dincharya is very important because then it helps you to stay in balance much easier. You know what to eat, how often to eat, how much to eat, what kind of activities you should do. Then Dincharya basically defines your lifestyle. What lifestyle is suited for you.
Mhm.
So that's of course brings
So,
balance much easier.
so that will vary person to person depending what kind of person you are. Like you're more of a Vata or a Pitta or a Kapha
Also,
kind of a person.
what is your lifestyle? What work do you do? If
Okay.
you are a labor or if you are sitting behind the in computer whole day,
Okay.
so a lot of things will come into the factor then.
So I have another question coming out of what you said. So a lot of people who are working into specifically in these pandemic times have been working in late night shifts. And because there has been no control on the way we are living, so the timings have been really upside down. And when we say that aligning ourselves with the nature, which means having a specific time to wake up, specific time to sleep, and following that rhythm, is something that has broken for a lot of people, even if it was there earlier. So, do you think that is right? And if it is not right, and if we really need to align ourselves with the nature, and for the people who do not have choice, who have their jobs, say late night, they don't have a choice, they have to work. So, what is the next best possible option for them to make sure that they're, even with that lifestyle, they're a little more closer to a natural way of life?
It's a difficult question because I'm a very firm believer that we have to follow just the nature because we are micro version of the nature actually. We are
Exactly.
not different. We are
Hmm.
micro version of the nature. So like Earth has 70% water, we have 70% water. Earth has 20% oxygen, we have 20% oxygen.
Right.
We are a micro version. So imagine if Earth is not doing well, the sun is not coming in the daytime, is coming in the night times. For
It happens,
or
like jet lag is like, just completely makes you go crazy, right?
exactly. So I'm a firm believer that we have to adapt for a balanced life. We have to adapt to the laws of nature, and we have to do the same thing. We have to follow them. But of course, now we try to change the rhythm. Uh, Body is very strong, so body can actually adapt a lot, much more than we think. But whenever it adapts, it has to suffer in some other way. It has
Right.
to compensate in
At
some
the
other way.
bargain of one thing, you're taking in some other thing.
Yes. So I cannot say that, okay, just do this and it's okay to stay awake whole night and sleep in the day and it will be fine, because I don't believe in that.
Now,
So,
even I don't believe in it, and that's why I asked you this question, because I really want our audience also to kind of, it's kind of a stamping that even I keep saying that, those timings are important, and and plus your hormones, I guess that is the key to what is going on majorly within you, and hormones love discipline. The first thing that will spoil
yes.
hormones is bizarre timings, right?
Body needs structure. Simple. You need to give a structure. Okay, this time I eat, this time I sleep, this time I wake up. If you do that, then body adapts very quickly and it knows when to digest, when to give you energy to work, when to give you relaxation. It's very important.
Great. So, Ram, my last question to you would be, now when we talk of aging, right? And there's a lot of word around anti-aging, and so this is actually our theme also under Yovna. We really want to bring about the concepts of ageless living, not only from the outer physical perspective, but talking of how everything matters, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So if we look at aging, it doesn't happen in a day. Like in your 40s and 50s, somewhere if you start to see some things are not working well for you, aging will also mean that you have a lot of mucus. Aging will also mean that you are high on gastric stuff, or uh, anything from the signs showing up on your face and body to whatever is going on within the body, and everything has a role to play, whether it be the wrong lifestyle or wrong foods or stress or toxins, whatever. So having said that, we also know that yoga way of life is the most potential anti-aging way of life, right? So just help us understand this concept a little deeper from the practical perspective, like how physically, mentally, emotionally it is creating that balance, so that those anti-aging parameters are already starting to get balanced inside our body.
Okay. So to explain this, I will first give an example. Maybe then it will be easier for people to understand. You know how long a turtle lives?
100 plus.
100 plus,
No.
200,
Yeah.
300.
Yes.
How long a dog lives?
10 years.
10. What is the difference in them? How do they breathe?
It's fast and slow.
Fast. Dog is always stressed, running around.
Right.
Turtle is slow and calm and taking it easy. The other difference in them is metabolism. The dog has very high metabolism.
Okay.
Turtle has very low metabolism. So
Okay.
science has already figured out that low metabolism means longer life.
So
High
now
met-
again, this concept takes us again from the concept that's in for a long time, that people are just working, doing anything to increase their metabolism. So that theory is also not right. That means, yeah,
according to Ayurveda, not.
yeah, yeah.
Slower metabolism will give you longer life and slow aging. And higher metabolism will give you, okay, better look, you'll be skinny, but you will also
For a short
age much
time,
faster.
for a short period of time.
Yes, you will age definitely faster.
Okay.
So if you want to have a longer, healthier life, then we need to slow down our metabolism.
Okay. And what are the ways to do that? Because till now everybody has been working on increasing the metabolism. How do we go the other way around to slow down the metabolism?
Balanced diet, because when the diet is balanced, you will need less energy to digest it. So less processed foods, no meat, no fish, no flesh. So natural food, vegetarian diet. So then body needs less energy to digest it, and when it needs less energy, you will also eat less, and the body
Right.
functions will be required less.
And
Less
you'll be
energy
much
will be
more
required to
energetic.
digest it. Much more efficient.
Efficient and energetic, right?
Yes.
So, Ram, I think this is, I think we are coming from a space where yogic science, and now I guess this is more of a yogic concept where the yogis had understood that each specific kind of food has a specific kind of energy. And for a yogi to reach that stage of spirituality, they did not wanted any interference coming in from everywhere, whether it be the kind of foods which are giving them that maybe that negative energies. And that's the reason yogic way of eating or a monk way of eating is is a very specific one, very on the vegetarian side, high on vegetable, high prana foods, right? High.
Yes.
So how do you think this way of life, do you think this way of life is possible for a common man to live, considering we are surrounded with so much of a fad around, and the focus is muscle, so then the protein has to be high, and if the protein has to be high, then animal foods are a complete is where people look forward to majorly, or if it is a, say, keto diet or gluten-free diet or whatever. So what's your take on that?
I firmly believe in vegetarian diet. I've been raised vegetarian, like I'm Jain.
Hmm.
So often in my classes, people have this question because people in West are very used to eat the meat.
Hmm.
So I give this example. If you think about it, who is the strongest animal on the planet? Rhinoceros. Bulletproof skin,
Hmm.
weighs 3 tons. With one hit, he breaks the whole tree.
Hmm.
He is completely vegetarian. He
Right.
has all the protein he needs just from the grass and plants.
Right.
Largest animal, elephant
Hmm.
on the land, vegetarian. Fastest animal, who can run for hours, for days, horse, vegetarian.
Right.
Right, he has so much energy just from the grass. He eats grass without salt and pepper. Every day, just grass. So we have tons of uh, examples that being vegetarian is sufficient. There is no need
Need for.
or to eat meat or fish for protein. There is enough protein in the natural vegetarian diet.
Right. And I guess if we, somewhere this theory also seems to be true if you look at the other side of it. If you look at, say, tiger or a lion, I mean, they will have that whole, animal at one time, and then for days they are just off to sleep.
Resting.
No
They have to
energy,
rest.
lethargic, dull, and right.
Yes,
So that's the
yes,
kind of energy that that kind of food is giving you.
yes.
Amazing. That's right. So which means aging, when we say it's more of a phenomena of keeping your body free flowing, moving, and clean from within, right?
Yes.
Okay, and not going by those typical fads like only muscles or only this and only that. So that's a
Very
very
much.
broken way of looking at things.
Yes. Not
Yeah,
so isolated way. Very
yeah,
peaceful.
right. So Ram, I think I am done with my questions. Anything else that you would want to add to, you think that, something I should have asked and you would want to add on to anything? In the meantime, I'll also open up the platform for any questions for the audience if they have, and we can then start taking the
Sure.
questions. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if anybody has any questions, please drop in your questions in the comments. Ram is there with us to answer that. This is your chance to ask questions about Ayurveda or Vedic science to Ram. You don't get many people who can answer that, so just take the opportunity. And Ram, in the meantime, maybe you can just add on to whatever you think you would want to.
Yes, I'm thinking about
No problem.
what. So yes, I was saying one in the beginning. Asanas are for physical purification, so they help to
Yeah.
purify the physical body, remove the toxins and all. Pranayam is for energetical purification. It
Mm-hmm.
helps us to purify our nadis, our channels, so the
Mm-hmm.
prana can actually flow. Right now, we
Okay.
have to breathe, and we cannot hold the breath for long. We lose the prana, and then we have to breathe again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why pranayama is necessary to make
Mm-hmm.
that strength in the energy body.
Okay.
And meditation for focusing, developing the focus so we can retain energy. Lack of concentration is also losing energy.
Right. So that brings me to another question, Ram, from my end. Again, a very common problem with, I guess, all of us, specifically the ones who are working in those closed environments. There are these phases of crashes that are happening, like 2, 3 hours you're working in front of the system, and there would be a time then your mind is completely in a frenzy state and you don't know what to do. And the only thing that you know is just hit that vending machine for maybe a cup of coffee or a tea. What I believe, I think maybe, I believe would be on the same lines, considering, it's the same language that I'm understanding. So it's basically that lack of energy happening at the upper part of the body,
Right.
which cannot be filled in with that cup of tea or coffee that will take you again, that is a quick knocking so that you immediately rise up. But that need for energy is still not there. Has not been taken care of, which can only happen rather than taking that cup of coffee or tea. It's better to take 5 or 7 minutes of breathing break. What do you say? Like, is that understanding right?
See what happens, like I told you, we get udan from sun. So when we are focusing, we are spending that udan energy. Now when it's finished, that's why people go to tea or coffee, because tea and coffee both are grown in sun, so they are absorbing sun.
Okay.
And when we drink coffee, it gives that sun power to us. But because
Oh,
it's
okay.
not processed energy, it's a second-hand energy, it's not same, it goes out
Mm-hmm.
very quickly. And that's why with coffee, again, after half an hour, 1 hour, you're empty.
Okay.
But if you sit outside, you take fresh air and you take fresh sun,
Mm-hmm.
and you have developed capacity of absorbing that prana properly,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need it. I don't drink coffee whole day and I can work whole day with same
So
focus.
your breaks are these in between breaks under in fresh air or under the sun, is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I think that's really interesting. So I think we have a few questions. So somebody has asked about pitta imbalance. How can we maintain that? Like how
For
can we maintain balance for pitta?
Okay. For pitta imbalance, it's very important to understand what is pitta imbalance. Pitta imbalance is that you tend to collect fire in your body. And the best way to break out the fire, get rid of that fire, is to exercise, to sweat. Pitta people need to sweat every day. Not by
Oh.
sitting in the hot room, but by exercising.
I can vouch for that because I'm a very pitta kind of a person. Over years, I realized that because I'm very, into passionate kind of a person, completely into doing my things and very focused on what I'm doing. And I realized the day I am, so, if that energy doesn't have a vent out in my work, then it will make me sluggish. So I have to either put that energy in my work or I have to go out and have a good run or a jog to bring about my energy. If that
Yes.
doesn't happen, then I'll be sluggish the whole day.
You have to sweat every day. That's the easiest way. You can all do half an hour of running or some exercise if you have pitta imbalance. Just run or sweat it out. You have to sweat it out. Fastest way to get balance.
So is this the same protocol for the other two types also, like
No,
Kapha and
no.
Vata?
Depends on no.
Uh,
Depends on other elements.
Person type. Okay. Okay. Then we have another question. Somebody is asking a place to understand Hatha Yoga from the foundation. So I guess none better than Ram. They have their own online courses, and I've taken one of their courses, and the way he presents is just amazing. That's the reason I reached out to him for this live also because I was completely blown by the way he explains things. So Ram, maybe you can just mention your website and people, if anybody's interested, can just watch you on your website and look out for your courses there.
Okay, sure.
But if you could just help people understand what kind of courses are you into, I think that'll help all of them.
We teach basically classical yoga. So we teach Hatha Yoga and we teach teacher trainings now. So we teach Hatha Yoga teacher trainings. We also teach Yin Yoga teacher trainings. I studied Yin with Paul Gurley, the founder directly.
Mhm.
And we have very similar ideas. So I like him and I like his courses. So
Mhm.
I teach Yin Yoga. It's basically half part of Hatha Yoga. It's not something new actually.
Yeah.
And my wife teaches Vinyasa Yoga. She is
Okay.
expert in Vinyasa. So we teach also Vinyasa. I teach
Mhm.
Yoga Nidra. I teach pranayama courses and I give
Mhm.
some beginners Ayurveda courses.
Okay, so and all these are online courses, or they have to be done at your centers?
Uh, we have at our ashrams, but because of Corona, we've been also brought all these courses now online.
Yeah, and I can vouch for your courses. I've taken one of them, which is an online course, and it has been an amazing journey. So if anybody is interested, can definitely look out for it. So you can just in the comment you can mention your website name, so people can just have a look into what all you offer. In the meantime, I guess somebody has this question. Vata, somebody living in Japan, difficult
Yes.
to maintain balance and these extreme seasons. So it's very hot and humid summer, cold humid winter. So with those kind of weather conditions, um, I think the question is around how to balance Vata or Pitta, is what I understand. Like, so if this answer question, this can just clarify a little bit more, or maybe what I understand is that one part of it is being understanding yourself from within, which is what kind of a person you are, Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, and the kind of energies are moving within you. Is it cold energy, or damp energy, or heat energy? And how does it relate to the weather outside? So that mismatch happens as the change of weather happens. So how do we bring about balance in that seasonal thing?
Okay, that's a tricky one because these days the weather is changing so fast and it's so unstable that you feel it inside. Like I said, we are micro version of the macro. So if weather is unstable, we become unstable. And Vata Pitta combination by itself is a difficult combination to balance because
Mhm.
what balances Vata increases Pitta and what
Mhm.
balances Pitta increases Vata.
Okay.
So you have to be extra careful with your diet and with your lifestyle. I highly recommend you to meet a good Ayurveda doctor and
Mhm.
ask him to help you design your good dincharya or your good lifestyle.
Okay, great. So
And
I
if you
think
can
some,
also write me a message or an email if you have, of course. But it's difficult to explain very briefly on the.
yeah, I understand. It's more of a getting deeper into this. Yes. So I think we have another question. What can you do to compensate working on shifts? I guess this is the same question that I had asked previously also. But what is the best way out? Of course, it's not the 100% solution, but what
Yes,
is the
of
best way
course.
out?
Of course, sometimes there's no option.
Choice.
Make sure you have your proper sleep and your eating times are regular. So don't take sleeping breaks and don't compensate on your eating times. Make sure you have equal eating times and you are eating good food, lighter food, you are getting enough sleep. And same thing, what you will do in a normal day shift life, you will exercise, you will eat good, you will sleep good. And that's very important.
Simple
And
solution.
some contact with people. That's also human contact is
Right.
very important also.
Right. Community. I guess that's the focus happening all around the world these days. How important it is. Yeah. Great. Okay, so Ram, I think that was the last question. If anybody has another question, maybe we are there for another 2 to 3 minutes. You can still ask your questions. And in the meantime, I guess, Ram, we have somebody else also who's taken some course from Arhanta, and they have the similar feedback like I have, very traditional and rooted to the roots is what, very different from what a lot of other schools are offering for sure. So thank you so much for sharing that. And okay, so I don't think we have any other questions. So on the ending note, maybe Ram, if you would just want to add on anything, and then maybe we can just wind up the session.
Just I want to wish good luck to all the viewers. Eat well, sleep well, exercise well, and take care of yourself.
Great. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ram. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
there. And it was really lovely having this
Thank you very much,
conversation with you.
deeply.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone, for joining.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.